introduction. Glad to be back here again. Now with our wonderful panelists joining me, I would love to start first with an introduction of what they are doing at the moment and also where they are in their Web3 journeys. Let's begin with Felix over there from DashNext.
Hi everyone. Thanks for still being here. I hope you had a good lunch. FELIX DashNext is what I founded a long time ago. It's the Asian part within the Dash network. Dash was the first Bitcoin fork, the first DAO in the world. Started in 2014, so I'm in the space for a pretty long time. Have evolved from there into many projects. We have built a metaverse last year, and now I'm diving hard into the world of AI, autonomous agents, and self-autonomous or fully autonomous companies is what my main focus is on right now.
Right, thank you very much, Felix. Felix was actually one of the first people I knew when I came into this space, and yeah, I have been getting lots of insights from him over the years. Let's move on to SHOGO, if you'd like to tell us more about yourself.
Sure, definitely, yeah. Happy to be here, and also happy to see several short prints lovers in the first front line. I'm always wearing my company t-shirts and short pants and everywhere I go and I present myself. You may not know, but EMURGO is a part of 3 founding entity of the Cardano blockchain. And we are also a commercial arm for the Cardano blockchain, so that means that we are doing a lot of commercial activities all over the world. My company is especially focusing upon the Middle East and Africa. We have set up a $100 million investment vehicle 2 years ago, and then, since then, we've been bullish in investing into startup companies, especially in the Web3 space in Africa and the Middle East. We have done 60 companies investment in past 2 years, and most of them are coming from Africa and also the Middle East. And we've done a couple of the Asian companies. But one of the reasons why I'm here today in Asia, even though I'm representing in Africa and the Middle Eastern entity, is because we have doing a lot of incubation activities in Asian countries. So that it's really happy to be here. And I probably didn't do a great introduction myself, but I've been working for Cardano since 2 years ago, when I'm appointed as a CEO. But before that, I was working for the government, the Foreign Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, and did a lot of diplomacy for many years, which was not really interesting at all. So then I kicked out of the bureaucracy and I get into a new technology world. So it's very nice to be here. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Shogo. And I've been introduced already, but I'll just say my name again. It's Cecelia Wong. I'm from YourPRStrategist. We are a boutique PR agency focused on Web3 and other emerging technologies. Today, I think our topic is unlocking enterprise value with blockchain. And so I think it's pretty important for us to really get a sense of what enterprise blockchain really means. Obviously it has to do with enterprise, being built on blockchains, but what does it mean in more concrete terms? Maybe, Felix, you want to give the audience a lowdown on what enterprise blockchain, that term, means?
Happy to do that, sure.
Okay.
Look, I guess blockchain is a database technology, so it's somewhat a really boring thing to talk about, if you're honest. It became very exciting once you add token and once you enable people to earn money based on database technologies. That's when everybody became, woo, I can earn money, let's pump something. And that was okay, right? But I think that was mainly the reason why there was always this big gap between hype, token, storytelling, and real deployment of technology. And the truth is, in most scenarios, blockchain is probably a very bad technology for enterprise level solution in terms of, not only deployment, in terms of costs, in terms of scalability, in terms of processing time, everything like that. So we have seen a lot of corporate solutions coming out, and there was always little adoption in most scenarios. Now, and that was since the invention of Bitcoin, which is still a pretty slow technology. But now we're seeing more and more use cases coming out, and finally there were people, which is probably a combination between, hey, you can earn money with it, and hey, this is maybe an alternative, where we see solutions coming out. I see that coming out in logistics, in airlines, in freight and traffic, and a lot of different things. So I think we're slowly getting there. Banking is definitely one of the driving sectors. We have seen a few panels before here where we are replacing SWIFT, which is somewhat, kind of a transfer protocol based on a database, again, with a decentralized ledger or a centralized, decentralized ledger, where now you can make a transaction faster and cheaper, right? And this is kind of, again, the criteria for an enterprise to think about blockchain, right? They probably don't really care about the token, but more about the solution. So I'm happy to see it slowly adopting, and I think that's going to be one of the big narratives in the next years.
Thank you, Felix. SHOGO, you want to add on to that?
Sure, definitely. So the enterprise solution in the Web3 space is meaning for me all about the transparency and the robust security. So the transparency can also be the meaning of the the evidence, because when you make any kind of transaction like in the Web3 space, that means that every transaction can be transparent, and that means that also evidencing your transaction. So like I said, we have invested a lot of companies, and also Cardano is making a lot of products, and also among the ecosystem, many people are trying to deploy and implement the enterprise solutions. But I'm just going to give one example of a portfolio company which is based in Egypt called the Pravica, Pravica, and this solution is a B2B, peer-to-peer, the messaging solutions. So that I guess many of you are using WhatsApp, Telegram, the Slack, but for the many of the cases, the Slack is the personal enterprise solution, but WhatsApp and Telegram is a small individual solutions, right? But what the product is providing is, and everything can be on chain, and you can also transfer the asset in addition to the messages. So this solution has been already adopted by 2 government organizations in Egypt, and they are also chosen as one of the top 20 companies and about T-Mobile, the young startups and companies. So then, I guess this is one because their security provider is much higher than the traditional the solutions. To the any kind of the transaction, like I said, has been evidence and about the transparency. So I guess enterprise solution has to be like that.
So security and speed, right? That's important. And what about privacy in terms of the transactions? Like
privacy.
Yeah. Is there?
It's a sort of a kind of different discussion, because the privacy law doesn't really matter if you're using a Web3 or not, because if you just providing a solution, for example, for a European company, then you have the privacy law imposed into those jurisdictions. So then any kind of laws or regulation can actually impose such kind of privacy law. But when you're talking about privacy of the person himself, I think the on-chain transaction can be transparent in one sense, but however, you can also conceal your identity, right? Because you don't really have to show off your face when you're make any kind of transaction. So that means you can also maintain your privacy as well.
Right. Okay. Okay, we'll get back into that a little bit more, but now I want to move on actually to smart contracts and their potential in enterprise applications. And I know that you've actually had a wealth of experience with building all kinds of commercial applications for payment solutions and things like that with Dashnix. And so maybe you'd like to give some insights to the audience on that right now. Felix.
If you allow me, let's go back to privacy for 1 second. Blockchain
let's do that.
It's actually pretty horrible in terms of privacy. It's like everybody who knows my wallet address knows the transactions I did, right?
Right.
just
I mean,
bad use
blockchain
case.
itself, if it's on a public chain, obviously it is not a you know, anonymous transaction as a lot of government institutions have been like accusing it of. You know, it's pseudonymous really, because you know, if people know your wallet address, then they're going to be able to track every single transaction that you make, like every single thing that's happening with your wallet. Absolutely, but
Funny thing is how many companies build on that, right? There's like a bunch of companies in the Web3 space that exactly go into this use case as their business case, which is,
right.
you know, tracking wallets, knowing who's transacting what, selling you stuff that you might or might not want, right? So this is kind of a bit of a, there's a bit of a gap between the dream of, you know, the good part of blockchain versus
now.
what
There's
is...
like tons of ways for you to be able to like, you know, like do private transactions. I mean,
Yeah, there is.
So I mean, you know, blockchain is offering like different solutions. You know, like depends on the level of privacy that you're looking for, really. You know, I mean, and then there are the public blockchains, and there are like the private blockchains. There are hybrid solutions. There are all kinds of levels that you know you can choose depending on what your needs are. You know, on the project that you're building. Yeah. So I mean,
100%.
I mean, it's not horrible. It's just, you know, like it could be horrible depending on how you use it, right? Like if you choose it for the wrong use, and if you're not, you know, like discerning in the way you're like selecting the type of blockchain you want to build on for your application, then obviously it's going to be a disaster for, you know, what you're doing. But okay. Do you want to add on?
Yeah, I mean, but do you really think that, well, having a lot of choices is like a horrible thing? Because because my metaphor is, like I said, in Africa, right? So that, well, in Africa, for example, in Nigeria, when people want to like a peer-to-peer transaction, when they want to like convert from crypto into cash, well, the majority of people is still using WhatsApp. Okay, they send a message to someone else. Okay, I want to convert my Bitcoin into the local currency. Do you really see the security here? Maybe you don't, because it's just you know, the open messaging chat, right? I mean, it's not open to everyone, but it's not really highly secure like tools for the messaging.
You mean like the actual transaction?
No, it's not a transaction, but I'm saying that, you know, okay, I send a WhatsApp, hey, I want to like convert in my Bitcoin into the cash, and can you help me on this? This is my bank account, and this is your you know, the wallet address.
So they're still transacting using traditional ways of I mean, from
I really understand like you want to talk about enterprise solutions, and also like you know, the higher security has to be like, you know, implemented for enterprise solution. That's why like people is using a private chain, right? For enterprise solution for most of the cases, and I mean, the past couple of years. But still, we have like a lot of choices, and then well, you can do like a WhatsApp transaction for the conversion of the cash. Or maybe you can choose the Binance peer-to-peer solution that are for the converting, between like crypto and cash. And then, but now we have like a lot of like enterprise solutions here. So then I think, well, people have like a lot of choices because of the invention of the Bitcoin and a lot of cryptocurrencies, and which gives like more choices, more selection for the people. I think that's a really good thing, for the people.
So you're saying now more choices for people. Depending on what they actually want to do.
Yeah, what they choose, and also like a literacy level is really important. But if they can choose the right way, I think that's a really good thing.
So what do you say to that, Felix? Is it that horrible?
Well, maybe I come across wrong. It's just you have to be careful is my point. You have to be very careful of what you use, and there's a whole narrative going on how amazing blockchain is, and it's all decentralized, it's all yours, right? The truth is there's a lot of dark forces exploiting you and using every chance they have to exploit you. Just take a simple example of anyone using an DeFi protocol and anyone giving access with MetaMask to a smart contract, right? You can hide stuff in the code that is there to exploit you. And it's happening every day on thousands of wallets, and we have seen like a whole, big history of people getting hacked and losing money. And there's companies building on that to exploit it, right? So this narrative of saying, hey, it's so amazing because it's blockchain is just not true. That's what I'm saying, right? So in that sense, there's a lot of hesitation.
Too simple, probably.
Especially
It's the simple narrative. I mean, you know, it's just like, you know, like you know, like when you're telling a story, you know, like the baseline, you know, essence. I still think it's pretty amazing that decentralization, you know, is now an option for us. You know, it wasn't before. You know, like before, you know, these options, you know, on blockchain and other DLTs came along. I still think it's pretty wonderful, but I totally hear what you're saying. You know, like lots of people, you know, especially hackers and all that, they're totally taking advantage of the fact that, you know, there are all these people coming on and naively thinking like, oh wow, you know, now, you know, everything's going to be safe. No, it's totally the opposite, you know, in a lot of ways. So I think it's because we're a little bit behind still, maybe in like education. You know, like, I think people need to be made more aware of what's possible, what's not, and what other people can do to your accounts. You know, like if you, you know, allow access to like certain information, certain data, you know, like what hackers can do to your accounts. I think that's something that, you know, probably needs to be a little more, you know, that knowledge has to be more commonplace. I think that's, yeah, something really important, yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're here to talk about enterprise solutions and enterprise adoption of blockchain, right? So this is where the point I want to make is it's very complicated for enterprises to go in because there's so many things to consider. And at the end of the day, there's actually a very limited set of use cases where blockchain for enterprises are really interesting. And a lot of reasons are, in general, blockchains are not private, but they are public ledgers, right? So the question becomes, for anyone using Ethereum, for example, like what use case is it good to have a public ledger? So we come to the use case of Chainlink and oracles, for example. Amazing use case. You need price data. You need price data that everybody can confirm. Versus, hey, there is a transaction that I can track you in every cent you spent and where you spend it, and you know where how it is connected to all your other wallets. So that's a bad use case, where the other one is a good use case, right? So this is what I'm saying. And then that adds to the points we made before, right? Is it fast? Is it deployable? Is it better than actually an old database that is running on centralized servers and so on? So this is where I'm saying use cases become limited, but, and this is the bad side, but the good side is more and more use cases are popping up where suddenly, okay, we are realizing that it makes sense to build on decentralized infrastructure using blockchain technology for a few use cases. And especially the banking, payment one, oracles, these are fantastic use cases, you know, but it didn't get out to putting the love on blockchain like, you know, we acted in 2017, we can do.
Right, so really what we have to be more careful about is, you know, like we have to be more discerning, basically, you know, when we talk about blockchain and its uses and all that. It's not like, you know, like blockchain's like the cure-all solution. Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree with you on that point. But in the ways when it does work, I mean, I think it does work quite, it does work quite well. I mean, you know, financial transactions, all of that, you know, payments and all that, it has totally, you know, like improved systems in many ways. Anything?
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
like Phil said, you know, because you know, the blockchain was told that the next internet, right, in like 2016 or 17, and it was believed that to replace the internet and it can do everything we want. But the reality is not like this, right? Because the blockchain is just a distributed ledger, so then it has a lot of the limitation. However, well, it has solved a lot of issues and a lot of challenges, especially in the emerging market. I'll give you just one example. So if you want to like transfer money like using a traditional way, like a Western Union or whatever, and if you want to transfer like $1,000 from the Miami to Kenya, how much is the remittance cost? Can you imagine anything? Maybe like 15%, or even less than that. But I would say like 20%. So if you want to send your family living in Kenya from Miami, you transfer $1,000, but when your family received, it reduced to $800, unfortunately, in a traditional way. But one of the portfolio companies that we have invested, they received US dollars, and they converted to the stable coin, and transferred it immediately to the local agent in Kenya, and then they exchanged it into a local cash, and then bring it to your family in the same day, and then they charge only 0.2%, right? It's a huge difference, right? And it actually solved like a lot of the financial challenges for the people living in such a world. So then blockchain can do something really, really amazing, but it has some limitation. That's why we have figured it out.
And also I wanted to point out that, in enterprise blockchain, there are also all the systems where now you are able to share data, right? Within not just within like a company, it's also shared within like companies, right? Different companies. It's like it's like a shared repository of data. It's a chain that is shared to like people who are given access. So it's more or less private, in the way enterprises use it. But I thought that was a very good use case because in the past, we've had all these problems and challenges with siloed, data bases and how different departments within companies were, facing all these kinds of challenges because, they weren't able to access information in time. But now that there is a shared database, that is common within like enterprises or, like a group of enterprises, which is now possible with enterprise blockchain, I think that is a very formidable use case.
I had one discussion, or one big narrative I see this year is coming, which is going a bit kind of into unlocking enterprise value, but actually has nothing to do with enterprises as they are right now, is building tech stacks that are made for AI, and especially for AI agent, right? So think about really an AI that is running an autonomous company. In order to run an autonomous company, the easiest way is just to plug into decentralized tech stacks that you can just use. So imagine you have an agent that is running a t-shirt business. This agent needs a wallet. Okay, get a wallet from MetaMask versus get a wallet from whatever bank doing a KYC that an AI cannot do. Use a database that you don't have to pay on Amazon. You just use a decentralized database and storage network, right? So in that sense, suddenly becomes very interesting to, this is where I believe right now also the thoughts of many blockchain people are, which is why are we even building for humans? Why are we trying to convince enterprises that don't get it anyway? Let's just build stuff for AIs that is building stuff for other AIs, right? So what I'm seeing coming out the narrative right now, and I bet you it's going to be big in 2024, is this transition from a human to human to human to machine economy to a full-fledged machine to machine economy where you have AIs running against AIs, doing business with other AIs, right? I mean, why would you even do an influencer that is doing content on TikTok for people if you can make an influencer that is influencing other AIs? It's just
wow,
so much more
Felix,
exciting.
you have like leaped into a whole other era. I mean, AI, of course, was the big talking point of 2023. Like when it just, came, ChatGPT came out in the beginning of the year, I was like totally, like blown, I was so mind blown, what it could do, what its capabilities and all of that are. And, we are still talking about human to AI, and you've already gone to AI. I'm like, that's a whole other era. But I mean, maybe you want to tell us more about that whole agent to agent type of. I mean, you've touched on it, but it's very interesting what you're saying. Absolutely, I see a very. I think yes. probably a trend catching on with that, definitely. And the fact that Web3, decentralization, if it's decentralized AI, I think that's also very interesting.
There's a lot of projects coming up there right now, but this is where I think this whole decentralization or decentralized infrastructure is just nice because it's I mean, look at it like a Lego toolbox, right? You have all these Lego things laying around and you can combine them in whatever way you want. That was the exciting thing about the whole DeFi movement, right? That suddenly you can
programmable. Right.
you can do stuff that was complicated before now in a very easy way. Do a loan, do a perpetual swap, do an options trading platform, do even a stock exchange, right? And you could do it by putting some Lego pieces together. Now you can also put an AI on running the whole business for you and kind of getting customers in and starting the trading or autonomously trade stuff. So this is where suddenly the enterprise value becomes very big, but not in the sense of, hey, we bring BMW an NFT project. So this is where, I think personally my excitement lays, and I think also the monetary value of all this stuff lays right now. Much more than in, having Adidas launch another NFT sports shoe.
What do you think about this, SHOGO?
Well, yeah, when it comes to AI, well, maybe I can have a couple of things to say. One, because AI has become really booming in Africa as well. Like, for example, Sam Altman came to Nigeria to make a lot of speeches about an AI evolution. One. Secondly, OpenAI used to have the 3,000 employees in Kenya and in a data center to put all the analog data before converting into the kind of full AI. And three, we have incubated one project called Nodo.xyz. If you can just search on that in Google, or you can find it very easily. This is a Web 2.5 to Web 3 product community platform. And then we have take a lot of news feed about the Web3 space in Africa, and then so we launched this project in April this year, and then we have 100,000 registered users. And most of the news content used to be made by the human, but now we try to implement an AI solution. So nowadays, most of the content actually made by the AI. So then I think the AI can take many of the human work, and will definitely implement it, and also in the blockchain industry. That's what I can say.
I think what is a little worrying for me anyway, as I see AI impacting the world in general, is the accuracy of the information that is going out. Because I see so much diverse types of information, especially when you're dealing with the different GPTs. Every time cause it's like AI, because they're fed the information, and so much diverse information goes into it. So for me, what's worrying is basically the how they filter all that information, and what's the the end point. I don't know what you guys think about that, but for me that is the worrying part about AI.
Well, I'm just gonna kick off this, but I still believe, I'm still just remember that when the Wikipedia wasn't invented, maybe 20 years ago, people using information written in Wikipedia as a sort of the resource to evidence your argument in even an academic research paper. But no one believed that, because the accuracy of the information written in Wikipedia was not enough at the time. Okay, but people use that now because an accuracy rate of the Wikipedia's information is getting higher these days. So then I think the people will get used to it, first of all, and also the sort of the accuracy in the AI generated information could be also much getting accurate compared from the now and maybe 5 years from now.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with you on that one, but then there is also another aspect to it. Because, okay, even with Wikipedia, okay, I'm just going to use your example. With Wikipedia, yes, we are getting more accurate, but how do you define that accuracy? The accuracy is basically if it's referenced more. So what if the references were wrong? You know what I'm saying?
But when you're talking about the accuracy of the reference, you have to go through the hundreds or the 1 millions of the academic research paper. Because if you want to find one solution, I mean, if you are saying, okay, one argument from this perspective, and okay, many university professors and PhD is agreeing from this perspective, but on the other hand, another millions of PhD is arguing from this perspective. Do you see this argument is accurate? It's very difficult, right?
Yeah, because that is one, because even with Wikipedia, I think the co-founder forked off, like not too long ago, probably like what, in the last year or so, he forked off and he's doing something else now. I don't remember the name of his project, but he was saying that Wikipedia was becoming less dependable, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think the whole basis of veracity in Wikipedia is on how, it's how the references, how it's being referenced, right? So if the references are wrong, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's dependent on, like something, like the input, basically the input of the information will determine whether or not, it's eventually accurate. And that's something that, is happening with AI right now. Like, since the information is being input, you know what I'm saying? So
and look at right-wing movements all over the world, look at Fox News. There is shitty information out there, and people believing shitty information with or without AI. So, I think this debate is driving a bit away from the topic of this discussion, which is kind of the enterprise value. And I mean, one thing to kind of realize is that one of the first people who got the value of information and data quality is this Web3 movement, right? I mean, we've seen kind of Ocean Protocol thinking. I remember I was in the room when they announced Ocean Protocol back in Berlin, and I think it was 2017, and I sitting there and I was like, what the hell are these guys even doing here? It's like, it's like selling, kind of building a data model where you can sell data to train AI models. So, and there comes the enterprise value. So if you want to have quality information, maybe you should get paid for it. And I mean, fact of the matter is, if you would learn everything you know just based on the internet, probably you would be a weird character, right? So you also need, beyond the open information, you also need kind of closed information sources, trusted information sources. Obviously, it's a difference to, ask a question into a scientific database versus Wikipedia versus Fox News archive. So it's very simple there, right? So the question is like, what information is open and what is not, what is paid and what is not, and why would you have an incentive as a company to give quality information to let an AI or a human train on your information?
Coming back to the enterprise applications of blockchain, because I do want to get back to that. And I know that you have built quite a number of solutions on that. I thought it'd be great if you could give some insights on the types of applications that you've been doing with Dashnext in terms of payment rails and things like that.
Yeah, payment rails, we had a discussion in the previous panel before. It's an interesting kind of story for me. It started, the whole narrative of anything cryptocurrency and blockchain started with the peer-to-peer payment solution of Bitcoin that evolved a lot in the last 15 years, right? From saying, hey, we have this uncontrollable money, to suddenly have Visa cards that can spend Bitcoin, to prohibiting these Visa cards that spend Bitcoin because, damn, Binance is not a bank. So we have to take the credit cards away. to going into CDBCs, which now become a full-fledged surveillance solution for spending digital currencies. So, you know, stuff is going on and sometimes taking magical, unexpected turns.
I mean, I can't argue that. I mean, this whole Web3 space, it has definitely taken lots of twists and turns, a lot of them unexpected. I mean, Shogo, do you want to add on to that with what you guys are doing at EMURGO?
Okay, Web3 enterprise.
Yes,
space.
Web3 enterprise, yes,
Yeah,
let's focus on that.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so our major focus is on obviously investment, but we have our own development team. And we actually help the Web2 companies to migrate to Web3. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to the companies, hey, you should build something from scratch on the Web3. It's not like that. But because enterprise has their own solution and their own business model. But I guess it's a very good opportunity for them to add some sort of Web3 element, or maybe like essence. So one of the companies that we've invested last year, so they have the market, 70% of the market shares in Kenya. What they do is the B2B solutions and for the railway and the long distance bus ticketing service, right? And then so it has nothing to do with Web3, but since they have a lot of commuters using their transportation, so then if they add, for example, Web3 basis digital identity on the application, or if they can add Web3 kind of the lending, the service on the application, well, the people can have more choices because many of them can use an application and showing, hey, this is my ID, so I can enter this country, and then I can verify myself with this application. I have used this in past more than 30 times. I have paid every single time, which means I can verify my credit score because I made such kind of transaction without delay, right? And then, even though they have traditional credit score like we have in the developed world, but they can verify their payability. So they can go to a lending company. Hey, I want to borrow maybe $100, $200 because here's my credit score, right? So this kind of solutions could be really, really workable. I guess especially in Africa soil. So then we actually can help them to do it. Many companies actually.
Interesting, the whole DID movement and all that. Yeah, definitely. A lot of traction right now, and finding lots of use cases actually. Yeah. So also coming back to AI, okay? Because AI is a huge talking point right now. The kinds of things that it is doing, and I would say that AI has been more widely adopted, right? When you're talking about on a global level, I mean, people are just using ChatGPT and using all kinds of AI applications right now. I mean, it wasn't such a difficult push as it was with Web3, I would say, right? AI has been easier to adopt, I guess, probably because the applications came, and they were easy to use. And it wasn't such a big, you needed to have more, a background in Web3 to understand why you needed to do it or why it was better and all that. Well, for AI, it was kind of like evidence, right? AI came and everyone was able to see, what kind of capabilities and possibilities, that technology would have. So coming back to AI, I wanted to, get your insights on, more on AI married with Web3 and, all the different kinds of, I guess, challenges as well as possibilities that we'll be looking at. Felix?
I think the point I'm always trying to make, it's actually not about kind of my political stance towards a technology. If I want to build a business, it's about what makes sense for me to use, like which tech does make sense to use to make a successful business, right? So it depends really what I want to do, and there comes also the kind of the decisions I make to use a Web 2 tech stack, a Web 3 tech stack, an AI tech stack, or, and this is I think the modern way to build stuff that makes a lot of money by combining these three things. You mentioned one very important kind of keyword, not even I would say buzzword, but kind of a practical approach to Web 3 in the last year is Web 2.5. What does that mean? It means I don't make myself a MetaMask wallet if I want to. The MetaMask or the Web 3 approach was saying, hey, users now have MetaMask, they log into my web page and they don't need to have access. I find that amazing because I'm a nerd, right? But most people don't care. So what people want is log in with their Google Mail, and if they forgot their password, they want a password recovery, right? So what companies have done right now is this Web 2.5 solution, which means log in with your Google Mail, and in the background you will get your wallet. You know, if you do it right, you can take your tokens away to your MetaMask wallet, but you don't have to do it, right? So you kind of have these like semi-custody, full custody, or non-custodial login solutions. So this is one thing. You have this, what we call Web 2.5. I think that's a very modern approach to build it. The other one is to say, okay, now we use like AI, do we need any tech stack in Web 3? So let me give you one example and the way we're approaching what I just said, design-wise, to build a practical solution. Like with my German team, we have just built an MVP for a contract management platform. So that means basically it's a competitor to DocuSign, where you can just get the contract going, deploy it on different parties, and then it's saved somewhere, right? In terms of DocuSign, it's a very manual process of creating the contract, putting the stuff together, sending it out per email to all the people that have to sign it, then people sign it, then there's a completely different process if there's money involved to settle a contract. Let's say you and me do a contract, you provide me PR services, and once you did it, I will pay you, right? That means first we have to agree, we have to negotiate, it will cost us 20 emails, and after you deliver your service, because I'm slow, you will write me another 10 emails, hey Felix, like when the hell you pay me? Right? So basically we have integrated in one workflow solution that is kind of the AI is creating the contract, it is sending out the emails, we lock in the money, and this is where Web 3 comes in, we lock in the money into a smart contract. Once the conditions are met and there's a proof that you delivered your service that you promised me, you will get an automatic settlement, right? So we cut down the whole process of like 50 emails to 2. So this is where I see, these
2.
Essentially,
oh, wow.
a few, let's say,
Okay,
right?
so it's
Depending
just cut
how
down.
good,
Okay.
how clear the service is delivered and how clear our agreement is. But this is where we leverage AI, Web 3 to store a contract. And if anything goes wrong and you say, hey man, you didn't pay me, or I say, what shitty service you delivered me, right? We can take that to a court and we say, here is the contract, here is the transaction ID, the contract is stored on-chain, we don't even need AWS, so we even build like an online storage system for that. And this is where I see, there are convergences of use cases and tech stacks.
What's the name of that project?
SecuraSign. SecuraSign, we're just fundraising for that project. We had like an angel investment, built the MVP, and now see where it goes.
Cool, interesting. SHOGO, do you have anything to add on to this?
Well, I have actually nothing to say about AI anymore, but okay, let's see. Well, some people are talking about maybe like an NFT, and NFT market has been really fluctuated. But I don't really think so. Well, when you come to Africa, for example, I have so many good use cases of the NFT. Maybe like I can just introduce one. The project called the Momento in Cape Town, South Africa. What they do is they could sell the partial sale of the solar panel. And then, so if you buy, you can become the kind of partial owner of the solar panel. And then, well, they can actually verify your ownership with the NFTs. I think probably a similar practice, probably happening in many different countries. But NFT can be utilized in that way, and they actually pay back sort of a dividend to the owners already. So there are many different use cases. Maybe like in House Africa in Nigeria, they have listed 120,000 properties in Africa. And a similar way, if you buy the property which is tagged to the NFT, so you can also get ownership of the property with your NFT. Because many things are still analog and handwritten paper stored in Africa. So then if you just burn this document, you will actually lose the ownership. So we try to just digitize, and then NFT can actually play a very, very pivotal role in that way.
Thanks a lot for that. Yeah, I also wanted to add on that now, I mean, with NFTs, it's also moved into the whole Bitcoin network space with ordinals and with BRC20, with runes, and all of that. And I see that actually starting to take a lot of traction, and I probably will, likely see more traction coming next year in 2024. So yeah, watch that space. I think that we have already reached our time limit, and so I'm gonna end it off. I don't know if there's anything more that anyone wants to add, but I mean, so far, the insights have been great, and I definitely want to thank my panelists for, all these industry expert advice and opinions that they've been giving, and thank you to the audience for being here with us. Also to the organizers, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.